So Nicole, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Hi guys, so we are so excited. Can everybody see my screen? Just to make sure. Okay, so we're just gonna go through our shout outs really quick and give me 1 second, because we have some really cool ones. So for the month of August, we have, not used to doing this together. Okay, we have 35 new boss babes in 19 days, which is incredible. You guys are just killing it with signing coaches. So I'm so excited. And actually this upcoming week, there was a 3-way tie. So we'll find out tomorrow who those are. So you guys are just crushing it. So our team builders so far for the month of August, we have Alina with 5, Alexandra with 2, Jessica B at 2, Laura Peter 2, Lindsay Duran 2, Megan W2, Sarah Timbrook 2. And then with 1, we have April Lee, Ashley B, Blasia R, Christina D, David T, Deanna W, Jamie Smith, Jachana Jackson, Jessica M, Jessica Roy, Kelly Tim, Lisa Dugal, Lisa Hart, Ren Mosley, Renee H, Shavana N, Vanessa Stike, and Whitney Jones. So good job, guys. No, you can do it. I'm fucking done. Make sure you're, let me mute Kelly. Okay, so for Success Club so far for the month of August, guys, look at this board. This is incredible. Like, you guys are really, really killing it. So for SC 10 and up, we have Alina Boyd with 14, Lisa D with 14, Lauren Anderson with 12, Lindsay Duran with 12, Alexander G with 10, and Jachana Jackson at 10. Then when SC 5 and up, we have Blasia R with 8, Kelly Bachelor with 8, Kelsey King 8, Ashley C 8, Jessica Morris 6, Vanessa Stike 6, Jessica Roy 6, Sarah Timbrook 6, Shirley Mitchell 6, Kelly Tim 6, and Jessica B with 6. And for on the board, I'm just gonna say your names. So Whitney Jones, Holly Garvey, Jamie Smith, Giovanna N, Deanna Woodbury, Abby N, Laura P, Megan W, Candace Wisman, Lisa Edge, Amy Austin, Dina Armstrong, Brooke McCain, Chastity Atkins, David T, Denise Ben Mosley. I can't mute, so sorry. Victoria T, Rebecca D, Laura S, Sarah Thomas, April Lee, Annette Wynn, Renee H, Dina Bauer, Brooke Wilkerson, Christina Dennis, Ashley B, Kelly King, Jacqueline Wood, Morgan Blair, Michelle K, Katie Virtue, Lily, Jennifer C, Lindsay O, Kathleen K, Kim Harhigh at 2, Jerry Oliver, Deborah West, and Sarah Burnett. Just really quick, there's just 2 announcements. And Jatana, did you want to do the Rise to Shine or want me to do it?
You can go for it.
Okay, so just really quick, there are some new updates in the coach office. And I'm gonna post this slide so you guys can actually see. But the new subscription orders, we have some enhancements. And so one of the things that they are starting, which I really like, are delay subscriptions. So make sure you're going in there and you can actually see like whose subscriptions are delayed, so you can let them know ahead of time. That's a new feature, and it's actually on the coach page when you sign up on the left hand side, right here where you would find new coaches and active coaches and things like that. So I will post the slide so you guys can read it, but just make sure you're paying attention to that. And then our big announcement is this. We are going to be doing a Rise to Shine pod. This is a push to diamond and above. It's your chance to get in an exclusive push pod with diamond leaders in this group. You'll have direct access to around 17 diamonds. So those are our leaders of the team, and you're gonna have direct access to them.
Hey, no.
to learn from them, to ask them questions. But the requirements to get in, you have to be SC5 or higher in the month of August. You must remain a positive voice in the pod or the chat, so no negativity at all. You must want to work the business. That means you're getting on team calls, you're getting on power hours, you're posting what you're doing and things like that. So each diamond leader is only going to bring 2 people into this push pod. So if you want to be the 2, you need to make sure that you're hitting these requirements and that you're talking to your coach. That is key. Your coach needs to know that you want to be in it. Don't just assume she knows. Make sure that you're letting her know. And then make sure you go to the post, which I'll bump it up again, and comment Rise to Shine and then tag your coach. So those are our announcements. And I know Jatana is going to introduce Jamie.
All right. Thank you, Nicola. What's up, you guys? Thank you so much for all y'all's messages. I've gotten a lot, and I just really appreciate prayers and positive vibes. We are on the mend, but we are definitely like self-quarantining. But I could not be on this call tonight because I am so pumped about Jamie. The girl is like a major leader in the network. She wrote it out. I'm so inspired by what she's been able to do, duplicate, and continue and keep. It's really, really impressive. And so I'll give you her accolades, but I want you guys to really set all distractions aside. I'm even like winded and out of breath just talking. It's crazy. Wear your mask. But all her accolades aside, with all her accolades, I want you guys to remember, and she's going to share her story, that even though you hear, some of the things I'm going to share about her accomplishments, that she comes from beginnings too. And I hope you get to hear some of her story because it's really, really a powerful story. She's a 4-time coach, and a Legacy Club member is somebody who's earned $1 million in income within her time as a coach. She is a superstar diamond coach. She's had 78 months in Success Club, and she is a wifey to Steve, who I'm not sure if they're both on the coach advisory board or if it's just him, but it was pretty cool to see the hubby on the coach advisory board representing the husbands that are supporting their wives in this business. So Jamie, I'm going to give you the floor, and if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat, and we can toss them at her after she's finished.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. Sorry if it looks like I'm crying. My eye was just so itchy that I had to see for eye drops right before, so I promise I was not crying, but it probably looks like it. But anyways, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for the intro. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys. So I am super ADD, so any questions, just jot them down on the side and I can get to them at the end of the call, but I just am not good at going back and forth. You just don't want me to be a squirrel tonight. So anyways, I've been a coach for 7 years. I feel like a total grandma when I say that, but 7 years. I'm 31 years old and I live in Michigan. Married to my husband, Steve, and we have 2 boys, Maverick and Wiley, 3 and 1. So we're busy over here, but good. And I started this business as looking at this business as kind of just like this hobby, this another one of Jamie's things. So I graduated with a degree in kinesiology from Michigan State, landed what I thought was like my dream job after college. So I was a wellness specialist for 2 corporate companies here. One was a college, and then the other one was Goodwill Industries. So I had like 650 employees between the 2. I got my NASA personal training license certified. So I was taking clients. I was a turbo kicking instructor, so I was teaching group fitness, and I was a gym manager at the Snap Fitness that I worked at. So I had 5 different jobs. Steve and I were just boyfriend, girlfriend. So I was like back living at my parents' house, and my coach is Chelsea Pearson. So I actually found her on Instagram. She found me, I don't remember, but I actually talked to her husband, Rob, or her now husband, Rob. And so Rob and I'd be at work and he'd be like emailing me, like I'd print off all these emails. My mom would be like, okay, well, you're in a relationship, so this is inappropriate. I'm like, Mom, he is too. Like, it's good. Like, we're good here. Like, just getting to know each other. And so a little bit of fast forwarding, in December of 2012, my dad actually underwent a massive heart attack right in front of my eyes. Luckily I was home. And so I noticed those warning signs right away and was like, we need to go. My mom drove us there. I was in the back seat with him. And by the grace of God and a really amazing medical team, he made it through. But his heart was blocked about 90%. So we got him there the first time that his heart stopped, and it stopped 3 times that day. So that was a huge reality check. My dad was not the typical person you'd think that would have a heart attack. He was 53. And 7 years later, he is literally doing amazing. So I'll just fast forward that. So yeah. But anyways, he had bad family blood of, heart disease, high cholesterol, and he would have like 2 big meals a day, where his business is like tons of fast food. So he'd get like that for lunch and then come home and just eat like his football player. And he's like 5'10". So, it was a huge reality check for my family for like just looking at labels and looking at sodium and all these things. So for me, I'm like, okay, wow. I'm definitely not helping enough people. Like, I don't want anyone to see their loved one go through that, let alone like their hero, my dad. And so for me, that was just like the wake up call that I needed. Like, I needed to take my knowledge and keep going with it. So he went through cardiac rehab, and then he and my mom got memberships to the gym that I worked at. And I just remember taking my mom through a strength training workout, and she's like very small. It just like hit home that I was just like, okay, I got to sign up as a coach. Like, I'm going to send a message to Rob. I'm going to get home. I'm like, hey, sign me up with Shalene Extreme. You guys probably even know what that is. Like, Shalene, sorry, like super old program. And he was like, hey, Insanity's on sale. And I'm like, hey, I don't have the money either way. Like, it's going to my credit card. So just sign me up for the 205. And then right then and there, I made my Facebook like page. It just started. I'm like, okay, I got to go. Like, I just got to put my knowledge out there. And I remember telling Chelsea, I was like, hey, just so you know, like, I never want to do this as a full-time opportunity. I love the jobs that I have. And they both were like, okay, no worries, no pressure. About 6 months after that, when I hit Diamond, I was like, okay, like, I'm in. What does that look like? What do I have to do? What are the goals? So I did not start. I'm not like a coach that says, I started my first month at Hit Success Club. Like, we didn't have Success Starter back then. I didn't hit Success Club until my 3rd month of coaching. Okay. So that's like my own fault. I don't say that it's my coach's fault. I just like didn't have a game plan. I was like, okay, like, let's go here. And so I was just like, she told me what Diamond looked like. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so it was pretty much just like bringing all my warm market on. Like, you guys need to do this with me. I don't know what I'm doing, but like, this is really fun. And so just got him going. And then I was like, okay, what's the next goal? And she's like, 2-star, where you can open up another business center. So I did that a year later, and kind of like the rest was history, because that was when I was in a point where, financially I was able to slowly leave some of those part-time jobs and eventually made this my full-time income. So for me, this business, once I started seeing like the pieces of it and like the building a team I really loved, but I just saw this as like, this is the answer. This is everything I wanted to do: the nutrition, the wellness, the group fitness, the personal training, the team, right? You missed that from sports. This is what I could do all at once. And I didn't even have kids on the radar yet. Like, for me, it was just like, this is it. Like, I'm a homebody, I'm an introvert, and I don't have to like go to different places all the time. Like, sign me up. And I was just a fur mom at the time. So, I want to share tonight about kind of like some expectations of this business of, I feel like in the beginning of my coaching career, Emerald was this big shiny goal, right? For my coaches, I'm like, okay, the first goal is Emerald. That's 2 coaches. Let's take your time. Let's do it. And then I realized, like, if I would have been that coach, like from day one, to be like, hey, this is Emerald, it's 2 people, sign them up, I'd be like, okay, done. Like, I just want to like do the goals, and I want to fit the plan and do that. So for me, my first, couple years of coaching, I wasn't much like that, because I was like, well, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm pushing them or pressuring them. And then I started signing up coaches, and that was around the time, like, 2.5 years into my business, 3 years, that's when Success Starter came out. And so then I started having coaches hitting Success Starter, and I'm like, oh, I think they want this path to success. Like, duh. Like, if I would have had a Success Starter program, I would have loved it, because it's like, check, 3 lives, boom, who else can I help when we do it again, And so when we're looking at Emerald, like, I now switched my Emerald feels to be Diamond. Okay, so Diamond is the goal. Like, Emerald, I'm like, that's a decision today. Most of you guys probably hit Emerald. Maybe you did an hour before this call. Like, you could sign 2 coaches right now, right? But like, we kind of changed our team culture to being like, okay, Diamond is where this business starts. Diamond is where you're finally looking at yourself as a leader, and you've got a lot to learn, but at least you got here, right? Diamond is 12 coaches. I heard Ashley Molstad say that a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, that's the easiest way to explain it. You know, instead of like putting it out like 4 and 4, Emerald, so that's 12 coaches, literally 12 coaches. Like, who's the 12 lives that you can change? And I feel like so many people in this business, maybe you felt this way too, but like, you know, for me, for the longest time, I was explaining Diamond as like this big, shiny, lofty goal. And now I've kind of changed that big, shiny goal to being 2-star, because that's when my coaches are really seeing the change in income, right? Like, we as your coaches and your mentors, we're not telling you that at Diamond you're hitting the jackpot. Like, you're not going to be just leave your jobs. I was still working 5 jobs when I hit Diamond. Like, it wasn't a pay raise. I wasn't rolling in the dough. But for me, my goal was to get my Shakeology paid for. So once that happened, I was like, cool, I'm drinking this deliciousness for free, but now I get to have fun with it. So I just want to talk to you guys kind of about how to like simplify Diamond and just kind of becoming like a Diamond factory that kind of helps your coaches see the future and really want to do this with you. So I think, you know, accolades are great. And I think it's cool to recognize people for accolades, and that's awesome. I'm not the person that like thrives on like the shiny stars. Like, I can be like under the radar, blinders on, like doing my thing. Like, as long as I can just like be in my house with my boys, like go to the pool when I want, like do those things, go to Lululemon when I feel like it, right? Like, that's what I want. That's what I work for, is like that kind of that life freedom almost. But on the other end of that, you know, the business side, the income side, that's what got me to how we're living our life now and how we have been for the last few years. And that's what allows me to do a training call in like a men's shirt, basically, like in sweatpants. Okay, like best job ever. But I think when you kind of change that topic up with your coaches, they start to see you talking like it. They're like, oh wow, that's way more simple than I thought it would be. Now let's do that, because whatever you're going to do, your coaches are going to do, but you kind of have to set the standard. So I just encourage you guys to make Emerald, just say like, hey, Emerald is something that's a today goal. And then Diamond is where the business actually starts, because Diamond, ready or not, you're a leader. And now it's time to be like, okay, I did this. Now I can really work on myself. So the biggest thing I want you guys to think about is your vision. You need to have clarity on your vision. Okay. So instead of looking at like, what am I going to achieve this month, or what am I going to achieve by the end of the year? Sure, we have goals there, but I want you guys as business owners to look in the next 2 to 3 years. Where are you in the next 2 to 3 years? Where is your team in the next 2 to 3 years? For me, like the first year that I hit elite, again, I was not a coach that hit elite my first year. I don't think I hit it for like 3 years or something like that. And once I hit elite, then I hit elite. The next year I had 2 elite coaches. The next year I had 5 elite coaches. The next year I had 6 elite coaches. Like, it was a ripple effect. So for me, when I hit elite and I finally realized like what it meant, what to shoot for, I was like, oh, okay, well, I want elite coaches. Like, I want my coaches hit elite. But they saw me doing that, so they're like, oh, Jamie's nothing special. Like, we're just like her, so we're just going to do that too. And then it just got to be more of like the standard. And now I'm to the point where my PS elite coaches have multiple PS elite coaches of their own, because it's just like, that's the trend, right? That's what you want to do, especially if you're a coach who you always put yourself first in your own journey, right? You're working on yourself every single day, our number one goal, but you're leading a team and you're also bringing on a new team. So you never stop working your business, right? Like, that's just how it is. That's how I think, like, the longer you are being coached, it's like, okay, well, you don't have to really focus as much as on elite, because as long as you're doing the things you do every single year, it's going to happen, right? But as long as you're not stopping, right? And if you have to think too, if you stop, if you're like, oh, August, I just got to stop working my business. Like, it's too hot outside, or like, I'm too busy doing all this stuff. Your team is going to do that. Your whole team, you're going to give them permission to just like put their hands up and take a break. Where this business is so amazing that we don't need to take breaks from it. I tell my coaches when I see them, you know, they're maybe like part-time income coaches working towards that full-time amount. And, you know, it's Saturday morning and they're like, I'm unplugging for the whole week because I need a break from work. And their only job is Beachbody. I'm like, like, you're literally telling everybody like, well, I need a break from my job because it's so exhausting. I need a break from it. For me, if I was watching that, I always think about like if I was the coach still watching and I was not yet signed up, I was just, you know, a prospect of someone's. These are the things that for me, I would be like, oh gosh, like she really doesn't like her job. Even though all week long she's telling me how much she loves coaching the community and at-home workouts, she's so exhausted by the end of the week, she needs a break. So like, ooh, I don't want that, right? Because people are seeing these things. No, do I work a full day on Saturday or Sunday? No. Do I get my ass out of bed at 5:30 to work out and do a little bit of work before the boys wake up? Yeah, because that's my sanity. Hello. And then maybe I'll do maybe 1 hour of work, if that. But like that's me getting up early because that's just my lifestyle. You're not going to be like sit down and working. But you know, when I had those 5 other jobs, that was me. Saturday at 1 p.m. when I got off the clock, I went to Starbucks for the rest of the day. Sunday was my only day I didn't have to be somewhere, so I would work on my business all day long because that was the only time I had consecutive hours to get into the grind, right? I think in this business, limiting beliefs can hold us back so much. So I am not the coach that's gonna like give you an awesome training on mindset, because like for me, I'm like, you either want this business or you don't, right? Like it's either your life and you want everyone to live this life with you because it's the best, or you don't. You're going to be pulling people along because you have to pull yourself along. But for me, I realized like 2 years ago that my limiting belief, which I went through this, 5 years, and I'm like, oh, I've never had a limiting belief. Then I realized my limiting belief was actually saying in my head, like, I am not worthy of all these big things. Like, I don't need the success that I see or that's coming, that I'm just like, I don't need that because that's just not how I was raised, right? And then I started realizing like, oh, but the success that I have allows me to be with my boys whenever I want. Like, even though we have a nanny to help with the boys, like I can go and kiss them and have lunch with them at any time that I want. Like if it's just a hard day and I'm having a hard time missing them, like I hear them upstairs the whole time. I can go and kiss them whenever I want, right? Instead of like me being at a corporate setting and maybe getting home from work at 7 o'clock, easy for or time for bath, give them a couple kisses, put them down and be exhausted. Like what life would I rather have? And that's just me personally. Like those are the things I think about, but those are the things that I'm like, okay, like that's why I work so hard, right? I think in this business, it's easy for sometimes coaches to say like, I'm working so hard and I'm just not getting there. Or like, if you have a coach, I've done 600 invites this week. I'm like, okay, 600. What do you at with Success Club? Nothing. I'm like, there is no possible way that you're doing 600 invites and getting no one to join you, because then one, it's probably just a copy paste. Like I'm going to throw up on your feed. Here you go, which nobody likes. Don't be that person. I'm like thinking if I did 600 invites, that would take me like probably, I don't know, 2 weeks, because my invites aren't, I've been connecting with these people for so long. So when coaches are saying I'm working really hard, like, are they actually working with like an agenda in mind? I told my team today, I was like, okay, if you're not where you're at, where you want to be at, like it's the 19th of the month, I would say, I try to hit success with the first couple of days of the month, right? But always by the halfway point, I encourage my coaches. So if you're not yet there, look at what you're doing every single day when you're working. Do you have 2 hours a day and you're doing 30 minutes of PD, an hour workout, making my shake, making eggs, 10 minutes to invite, I probably should shower, or like, I'll do that last. Like if you're not doing the things that are going to build your business, you're not going to build your business, right? And all those things I mentioned, like those aren't work hours. That's what we do to remain sane and work on us every day, which is the goal, right? I think the biggest part of this business is like, actions speak for themselves. We can talk about how we're doing this and all these things, but people see your confidence. And I will say that all my top coaches, you could go to any of their feeds and you could just see that they're just confident, not just like physically and emotionally, but like they're just confident with life because they feel so freaking good that they just, that's like inevitable. You can't like write that out. You can't type that out in a really well-worded post. People see that in your stories. They see if you're truly happy or if you're exhausted all the time, like there's probably something going on. But for the coaches that truly love this and they don't doubt the business at all, they see that big 2-3 year game plan. Like I tell my coaches all the time, I'm like, okay, you're at, where I was in year 3. So think about if you keep that up, or even if you do more than what I did, think about where you'll be. They're like, oh yeah, well, I'll be there too then. Like my coaches just trust and believe, Shanti, but They trust and believe that they're going to be where I am because I don't have anything secret. There's nothing secret. The only reason I am where I am is just because I've worked harder than the average person, right? And like even now as a full-time coach, I've been a full-time coach now since like 2.5 years in the business. Like I still work hard, right? Like we have a nanny. I'm not working for an hour and then sitting by the pool for 8 hours. Like I have brain dumps, I have to-do lists, I have trainings, I have my own personal business to focus on, I have coaches to mentor, but I love it. I love my job. You know, and I used to be that girl that had those Sunday scaries that it's like crying before bed because you're like, I just don't want to go to work. I'm tired. I didn't get to rest. I didn't get to rest this weekend because all I was thinking about was all the other things I had to do to get me back here. So another thing I want to touch on. So in this business, I call it like the build. Okay. So you're in grind mode for a couple years. Okay. Yes, there are some coaches that hit, Success Starter and Diamond month 3 and 4. They crush it. They're going. But sometimes what happens with those coaches is, they have like a big warm market, right? So they have a lot of people ready to join them, like what I had. And then in that time, I'm trying to teach them how to build their cold market then, because eventually, they got to get both kinds of people in. That they don't do that. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I can't even hit Success Club. And it's like, it doesn't mean when people say I can't hit Success Club this month, it doesn't mean that they didn't do anything this month. It means the last couple months they haven't been doing enough. Right? Like, have you guys ever been guilty of like taking your foot off the gas because life happened or life got tough, and then the next couple months ahead of that are actually really hard? It's not that those couple months are really hard. It's that you pumped the gas and you went backwards the couple months prior. I think that's what a lot of coaches don't always like to admit, my coaches included. But that's always what it is, and that's why it's so hard sometimes when I hear people say like, oh, August is a really hard month or whatever the month may be. For one, I'm like, okay, you just told your team that it's okay to not hit very big numbers this month, or it's okay to not recruit your highest month ever or whatever it may be. But like also that's in your own discretion. Like you should have enough people in the pipeline that it's like you have people that you're talking to all the time. In this business too, looking for your next diamond coaches. Like I've never been a huge recruiter. I think the most successful points I've ever gotten was like Success Club 44, like never past 50 ever, let alone like really high numbers, and that works for a lot of people. I just have never gotten there. Right. And if you're one of those people, you're a badass. But for me, I'm just very, very specific about who I bring onto my team, especially. Like there have been a couple people that maybe we just didn't mesh that well together, because I have to think about it. I always think about it, if every coach that I'm mentoring, if they do go on to become Diamond and above, I spend a lot of time with my Diamond and above coaches, like much of you guys. I want to like them. I want to love them. I want to really build a friendship because we're going to be business partners. We're going to do this together. And those are your coaches you're going to be spending the most time with because you're probably going to be collaborating with them, right? Or you're going to be picking each other's brains, or they're your success partners. Like I pretty much have my success partners being my top coaches, to be honest. Like those are the ones that I go to when I have a hard time, when I'm going through something, because we're all running our business together. We're like doing this with them. But also I want to just touch on this for Instagram, is most people on Instagram don't necessarily use Instagram for what we use it for. Okay. Like they're using it for maybe posting a little bit about their kids, or maybe they are into, healthy meals or posting that kind of stuff. Sometimes they're not posting at all. So for us, like to expect like, oh, we've reached out to them in a message 3 times. They said they're interested once and then they ghosted us or whatever. Like we have to know that that's okay. That doesn't mean they don't like you. It just means that they don't use Instagram the way that we use Instagram, right? We're using it to like build a community and build our future teams, where they are maybe you're their first DM, right? But I think also, in this business, we have to evaluate ourselves. Like we evaluate social media all the time. We look to see if our feeds look good, if our captions are, engaging, or a scroll stopper, that kind of stuff. But in this business too, like we have to evaluate our actual business items, and all the time. Like I always tell my coaches, I'm like, leave the BS at the door, right? So like there have been times that I have to like check myself, because I'm like, okay, that month maybe I didn't recruit my dream team or girls that I want on my dream team. So I'm like, what did I do differently? I dealt with this a lot during my second postpartum journey. You know, that year I kept up with recruiting. I didn't slack or anything. I kept on going, had some leaders, but the people that I signed up that I thought were going to be like my next elite coaches just didn't. And there were some things there and I'm like, okay, well, instead of me looking at this as like, why didn't they do the work? I'm like, what did I do differently? Like, what do I got to change? Because I don't want another year of that. That was probably like the hardest year. Well, I was coming back from bringing a second child into the mix. So baby plus toddler is like, whoa. 2 kids in general is just whoa. And then postpartum. Okay. So your body is changing shape again. And for me, I am just that person that I am a better mom and a better wife when I'm like in the zone, when I feel freaking good. No shame to any mom that's like, I love like whatever. I love my body for birthing 2 children. Okay. I give it credit, but I am just way better when I'm in the zone. Okay. When I'm feeling good. So for me not to be there and you have to take your time and you have to wait for your doctor and all that stuff, like my headspace just wasn't that great that year. It just really wasn't. So I'm like, okay, time to flip the switch and really dive into me. Okay. So anytime in this business that I have been thriving, I look and see where I've been. And it's almost been when I've been at like my peak shape, because it's like I truly have more energy. When you have more energy yourself, you have more energy in your actual DMs when you're talking to people, instead of being so exhausted that you're like, oh, I just can't even respond to that right now. Or like you get a message from a coach and you're just so exhausted. When you're actually feeling good and you have more energy, your team thrives from that. Your clients thrive from that. They're going to get better results because you're excited for them to do that and you want to help them. Your coaches, same thing with mentoring. If you're in a good headspace and you're feeling good and you see something that maybe they could change, I always tell my coaches, like, let me know if I have that rite of passage to tell you like what I would change. And they're like, yeah, tell me. Like, and I'm like, okay, well, I noticed a couple things here, you know, and then your coaches thrive. But like taking the time to do that, you know, we need to know how in this business, like how we first connected with people and then how we connected now, right? Like, is it the same? Has it changed? Has it evolved? Because all those things are going to change any life change, a move, a marriage, a relationship, kids, job, pets, any of those things can change how you affect that. So you just need to focus on getting yourself right. You hear that from all coaches, like put yourself first, vital behaviors, but that is where I get the energy from to be excited to bring more people on every single month. For your coaches that are pushing to diamond, or maybe you're a coach pushing to diamond, like simplify it. Okay. So maybe your goal is, we'll say you want to be diamond by the end of the year. Okay. So I would say to my coach, girl, too long. We're not going to just sit here. Like, we're going to make it happen. If your goal is next Thursday, I would challenge you and say after this call, you still have a little over 2 hours. Like, let's make magic happen. Let's do it for Thursday, right? Like, why are deadlines always so far away? For me, I'm just like that competitively driven. Like, I love deadlines. It makes me just like really laser in and focus. I also think that when you're lasered focused with like a deadline, you're also not going to dink around, right? Like, if you're pushing for diamond tomorrow and you're like, oh crap, like I'm just going to do it. I've got 2 more people I need to sign up, right? You're not going to be after this call on your phone just like scrolling, right? You're going to be sitting down, like maybe pour some Energize if you haven't already, and start like messaging your clients, trying to get them to sign up for the discount, or messaging your best friend like, hey, this is the time to join me. I don't know what I'm doing, but guess what? Like, we're about to be a part of something really exciting. Let's go. I think when people know what they can be a part of, they also are like more inclined to learn with you. And even our Emerald coaches, you know, when you tell an Emerald coach, like, hey girl, you're my missing link to helping me become a 1-star diamond qualifying coach. Like, wait, what? Like, I knew that I made my coach 3-star qual. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I dropped diamond after 1 week of having it. Yikes. One of my Emeralds had 3 active coaches underneath her, and she literally just up and quit. And I'm like, whoa, for one, how does that happen? I just hit diamond. But 2, like, she had 3 people signed up that just roll up to me and had no idea who I was. So I was like, oh my gosh, they're like I need to like take them in. Like, I feel so bad because she just up and left. But that was like my reality check. Like, okay, you can't rely on anyone. And you best bet I freaking got it back the next week, because I literally took away Chelsea's stars. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't even care about the diamond for me. I want you to have 3-star, because I was so excited about the big effort, right? But I think, you know, looking at diamond, okay, whether you're a diamond coach, you're 1-star, you're pushing for diamond or whatever, the team that got you to one rank will not get you to the next. Some may come with you, but they're not going to. I have 2 times in my business, I was stuck at 1 star for a year and a half. I literally had 6 diamonds on a weak leg, which was great for income, but sitting at a 1 star for a year and a half. And then I also sat at 7 star for a year and a half. So those 2, not highlights, but 2 moments in my career. I want you guys to learn from my mistakes, because for me, both times what I did is I relied on Coach A and Coach B that got me to 2 star to keep me going, right? And I relied on them. The Fallen Diamonds that kept me at 7 star and didn't help me go to 12 star, I waited. Guys, whose business is this? Is this my business? Well, your business, if we're talking about your business. But why did it take me so long to take ownership of my own business? I was waiting on other people, essentially, to write my paycheck. And once I realized I'm not willing to let someone else dictate my success or lack of, I was like, all right, eyes on the prize. I got bigger goals in mind. Like, I need to recruit a new team. Okay, that doesn't mean I didn't stop loving my girls. That didn't mean I stopped loving my leaders that I actually had. That meant I was like, big picture, let's go, no more excuses. So I say that, guys, if you've been in a spot like that, please learn from my mistake. 3 years of me, like, so, especially at the end, you get so annoyed. You're like, I just want to rank advance. But it's just like, when you have these moments and stuff, don't rely on anyone. You're going to have so many coaches in this business as the years go on that tell you, like, I want to do this with you. I want to be a 6-figure earner, blah, blah, blah. And they're the coach at the end of the month that's like, oh, I wish I could hit Success Club. And if you rely on those one coaches to be like your North Star, you're going to be so drained. I feel like so many coaches in this business don't get to where the magic happens, when you actually have builders, right? Because we all want more builders. Maybe if you hit diamond, you're like, I really don't have any builders. Like, I don't have anyone that really wants to work the business. And that's okay. That's normal, right? Because it's only 12 people. But you've got to keep on recruiting and be in recruitment mode to find those builders. And sometimes they're not going to be builders right away. Maybe they're people that, you know, go through a whole year with you in your boot camps. You're an amazing health coach. You're getting them results. They've got people that are like, wait, what is going on? What did you do over the last year? I need to do it too. All of a sudden they pop diamond because of the results, right? Something like that. But I think it's just really important to be the example of your team, because your team will do half of what you do. And my first couple of years of the business, I hit SC 5 to 8. That's it. And then kind of just got a reality check. My husband was like, it was when we had the leadership development category come out, and the beginning of the year we were ranked number 2. And I was like, Joe Carden was my mentor. I was like, well, that's wrong. Like, there's no way. And he called back and he was like, you're right. It was wrong. And I was like, I told you. And he's like, you're number 1. And I was like, wait, what? Like, this isn't, I was like 55. As an elite coach for the first time the year before. 55. And it was because I had 2 girls go through 2 Star Diamond rank advancements. I had 100 leadership development points. So after that, Steve, my husband, was like, okay, babe, so pretty much everyone around you in the top 10 hits like SC crazy numbers. Like, I bet you could at least hit SC 10. And I was like, damn straight. And ever since then, I've hit more than SC 10. But guess what happened? And I did not stay in the top 10. So that was just a weird thing. But it was just like, once I started doing that, all my other coaches, they're like, oh, Jamie's hitting SC 12, SC 14. I can try for that. They went to SC 8, SC 10. Now, like, that's easy now. That's simple. Like, we tell our coaches, if you really want to build a business, SC 10, right? For the first couple of years, I was just getting by SC 5. That's when it used to be SC 5. But like, those are the kind of things that you as the leader, you determine how fast your pack is moving, right? So my first 3 years, my team was steady with me, and we were, you know, building. We were in that build phase. But then as soon as I started 10Xing everything and I read the 10X rule at the same time, it was just like game changer. And then the team just freaking exploded, because like my leaders were like, okay, well, she can do it. I can do it too. Right. And just the last thing I want to touch on before I get to your guys' questions, in this business, like, we are business owners. I know it's weird in the beginning to say that. You're like, I own my own business. I'm a CEO. Like, wait, what? Like, that's not, it's not me. Right. But I think the sooner you can really own that conversation, even if you see someone at the grocery store, if you go anywhere, or talking to someone on social media, like the sooner you realize that you're the CEO of this incredible empire that it will someday be, the sooner people are going to want to be a part of it, right? And then these goals of hitting diamond are no longer just the goal. It's like, okay, we hit diamond, now let's focus on 2-star. 2-star, let's focus on 5-star. Like, I'm ready to really build a business, and I'm ready to leave my job, or I'm ready to leave one of my jobs, or I'm ready to be with my kids more. Like, those big picture items happen because you're talking about them, and the vision of the business too is like, when's the last time you guys have done a live video in your team page where you told your team, you went through your goals and you literally read them out loud to your team? Because those things help your team dream bigger. That shows your team who loves you what is possible. It also shows them what they probably aren't setting for themselves, because they realize, oh crap, I probably have to dream bigger. But guess what? When you have those things like above your computer, just like imaginary, or maybe you do make a vision board, when you get those hard no's, or you get someone that just completely, ghosts you or whatever, like, you lean into those things, and then those things don't really matter anymore. You don't really care about that kind of stuff because you've got that big picture, that next 2 to 3 years, like, on your horizon. And you keep your blinders on, guys, because in this business, it's super easy to get all distracted by all the shiny stuff, and it's great, whatever. But like, your business is going to thrive because you're thriving. So if you're not thriving, you need to get that right so that your empire can be thriving. I hope that was helpful.
It was perfect. Thank you so much. There's some comments here in the chat. I took some notes, two of my favorite quotes that you said, Jamie. So many people in this business don't get to where the magic happens. That was my favorite, because I, as a person who's experienced the wonderful thing that this business can do for your life, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, when I sign coaches, and I know some of my leaders probably feel this way as well, it's so heartbreaking when you see somebody with so much potential let go because it gets hard, or they get a no, or they fail at a goal. And you're like, gosh, if you just push through, muscle past that difficult time, you will see the fruit of your labor, I promise you. But it's almost like in parenting, you have that newborn, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna rip my eyes out right now. Like, I just want to sleep through the night. And then you finally get this little kid that's interacting and having conversations with you. And you're like, it was worth something. All that hard work is coming into fruition. So I love that quote. Another one is, you determine how fast your team is going. And that one's kind of a conviction for me, because like, when I pause, or I let life or anything like that happen, and we all experience this in some perspective of our business, it affects our team, whether it's 2 coaches or 1,000 coaches, it affects all of them. And so to keep that kind of in the forefront of your mind, that what you do, your team is following right behind you in your footsteps. So don't set that cap on them. Make sure you're pushing hard for your goals. So what questions do you guys have for Jamie? I see Kelly Batchelor wrote, what do you think made the biggest difference for you being able to recruit coaches?
So I came into the business, obviously, like, recruited as a coach. Like, I signed up to get the discount on Chaco, and I wanted to, like, build a business from day one. And I think, honestly, so much of what you attract is how you were brought on. So if you were a discount coach for like a year and then you decided to work in the business, maybe that's what you attract more of, is like clients that turn into business builders. For me, most people that I bring on, like, they know they're gonna, get in the best shape of their life with me while building a business, or they were like me, they loved fitness, but maybe knew that their nutrition could really be cleaned up, but they wanted to work a business. So it's like, those people are kind of just like, they've seen me for years doing this. They've seen me like never go away, that they're kind of like, okay, she's been doing this for 7 years. Like, maybe I doubted her for the first 6, but now it's kind of like, okay, I trust what you're doing is right. So I want to do that too. But I think if you feel like you're not recruiting a lot of coaches, like, you've got to be talking about it in your feed and in your stories, like, even just sharing like team call night, or sharing, it doesn't have to be anything big, like just sharing how your paycheck helped with your groceries. Like, I know when I first started, the biggest thing I talked about is Steve and I both had SUVs, and I was the girl that you know, I had $20 on me. That would not even get me half a tank, or sometimes it was $10 to put in because that's all I had just to get home. And when I could actually fill up my gas tank and it was like $65, it was just like game changer, you know. And then Steve's part of his story is like one time when he came home, I filled up his Xterra, and when he was like doing something in the house with my mom, and he went outside and was like, holy crap, like you filled up my gas tank, because he was a college student as well and couldn't afford that stuff. Like he'd pay the $20 just to come an hour to where I was. So those were things that it was like, even in the beginning, you know, if you feel like, oh, I'm not making, you know, the income that I'm dreaming to have, share those things, because those are the things that were monumental for you or are right now that people do relate to. And I think, you know, the more successful you get, like your life is like what is desirable, right? You don't have to share every single time. Like obviously I don't share anything about how much money I make, because it's like that's irrelevant and that's not who I'm trying to attract. But I think like the biggest thing you could just show is your consistency and your dedication to this lifestyle. And it's kind of like more of an open book of you always looking for new coaches to bring on and mentor.
Love it. I have a question. If you have a new coach that signs on with you and they've been on team calls and they did your team training and they're like, all right, Jamie, I want to go diamond. What do I do? How do you mentor them? What do you say?
So I use any of like the roadmaps that are out there, because a lot of the times when they fill those out for the first time, they're like, oh, I'm actually kind of close. It's like, yeah, no shit. But for the ones that are like maybe just emerald or something like that, it's like, okay, that's the step of leadership. Like I just talk about all the things you're going to be a part of. Like you're going to mastermind with people at your level. Because how many times do you have an emerald coach pop into a business builder page or asking people like, hey, I'd love to partner with someone who's diamond. It's like, well, that's not fair. Like you're diamond, like you're emerald, they're diamond, right? You want to match them with like meets like. And so for me, the biggest thing is it's like, once I see coaches sign, you know, on their own 5 or 6 coaches, even if they're all discount coaches, that's when I get more hands-on with them, where I'm like in their inbox every single day, like, okay, who's the next one, right? And I'm encouraging them to run a coach sneak peek every single week. Pretty much any coach of mine that's pushing for diamond or solidifying their diamond, I'm like, you should still be in a coach sneak peek every single week, whether it's a coach sneak peek, happy hour, opportunity call, webinar, that kind of stuff, but something you're always inviting to. Because when people see that you're actually like working this business and recruiting people every week, like, I don't know, I feel like so many people think that they post one thing and everyone in their feed sees them. They have 2,500 followers, all 2,500 see it. And it's like, no, you need to be doing like only 10% of that. So if you have 300 followers, that's how I started. Like I wouldn't have had anybody looking at my stuff. Probably they didn't, because it was hideous. So that was probably a good idea on their part. But I think just looking at that is like getting them in the mindset of that. One of the years that I needed 2 diamonds for elite, or I needed 1 more diamond for elite, 2 of my girls that were pushing, I ran a coach sneak peek with them every single week in November, December with them, because I was like, hey, we're doing this together, like team effort. You're both hitting diamond, and they both hit diamond, because it's hard not to if they're actually inviting. But I'm honest with them and say too, like, if I'm going to take time out of my family time for an hour call, I'm going to make it worth it. I'm not going to not invite anyone, you know. And I tell them too, like the odds, like for me, if I invite 10 people, maybe 1 person will say, yeah, sure, what's the link? 10 people that are actually in the group, maybe 1 will sign up. So when they invite 2 people to the group, it's like, girl, no one's going to sign up, you know? So I myself am leading by example doing that. But I also make them put it on their calendar. You know, there's these little Post-it notes that are actually diamond shape. They're on Amazon, but I make my girls get those. I make them put it on their computer, on their laptop, in their car, in their bathroom, wherever they see it all day long, that says like August 29th or whatever. And, you know, I help them set a goal that's, you know, sometimes a little hard, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, that's only 3 weeks. That's why I said, like, for if any of you guys are on this call, you know, pushing for diamond, like after this call, you've got 2 hours, like go do it, right? Like go see what can happen. But I see the biggest thing with coaches who are success starters, you know, their first 3 months, they make it through. If they're not yet diamond, it's like, you need to keep up what you just did those last 3 months and keep doing it, right? Simplify it. If you hit emerald, okay, go hit emerald again. And then go hit it again, you know, instead of making it like this big thing that it is, because a lot of you guys might have hit emerald right before this call, like with 2 coaches, right? So I think just kind of like dumbing it down a little bit, but also like checking in with them. Like I do a lot of my one-on-one mentoring with the coaches that are pushing to diamond, and then right after they hit diamond, because I don't want them to just like fall apart after that. Like I want them to keep that momentum going. So like I tell my coaches like, okay, Thursday you're hitting diamond, we're celebrating. Friday it's focused on 2-star. Like let's get that action planned.
Awesome. Kelly said, do you promote a boot camp and a sneak peek? How do you promote a boot camp and a sneak peek without being super salesy?
I just ask everyone to join me, like especially with MBF. It was just like, hey, this is a brand new program, come do it with me. And then it's like round 2, like, hey, who wants to do round 2 with me? Like all my people know that they're just in the trenches with me, and so that's the easiest way that I do it. And I feel like if you don't want to be salesy, you won't be, right? But if you're thinking about like, oh, is this salesy? Like maybe it is because you're thinking it, but like you're just inviting people to join you, right? And especially if you have results, like I'm not just saying like a 6-pack or like ripped arms, but like maybe like your shorts are fitting better, or maybe your face is looking slimmer, or you're just happier, right? You're sharing these things. People are just kind of like, okay, whatever that is. Like I try to talk about the fact of like, especially this program, it's so different than anything I've done. It's like, why is it so great for me? Like my metabolism is through the roof. I'm starving. I get to eat a lot of food. Like I talk about the things that I am appreciative of this new program for. So then the people that are like my lifers, they're all just doing it with me because they're all like, okay, we're ready to do this with you. And especially because like my day one is their day one. So there's so much power in doing that together.
Exactly. Same thing. You know, when I'm talking in my stories and I'm trying to fill a group that's starting, or I'm going to promote a sneak peek, it really is about bringing somebody along on the journey with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like that you got to remember, and you got to go back to that very first feeling of what it felt like for you to get started on a program, and be that person when you're talking to them, because that's where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly said, how do you promote, sorry, I should have clarified. How do you promote a boot camp and a sneak peek at the same time if you're saying your coaches should be promoting a sneak peek each week?
So I just think you need to have a lot of value in between. Like I think the biggest thing is if we feel like we're only posting about coaching things, like you haven't posted enough about your life, right? That's the stuff you're sharing in your stories. Like I don't ever worry about me posting too much about coaching because coaching is a part of my life, you know? So for me, it's like I need more exposure. And I tell my coaches too, like especially them, they have smaller followings, like they need more exposure. So you need to touch on it more often. And I think the biggest thing is just being able to kind of nail it if you're talking it out in like 2 or 3 stories, right? Because sometimes coaches will go on for like 20 stories. It's like, oh girl, you lost this like 10 stories ago. So I try to help my coaches just like share naturally, like their experience, and then some kind of, you know, like subtle call to action, right? Like every day I work out, every single time I'll do you know, swipe up here if you want to join us for the next round, or next boot camp begins September 7th. Drop your email here if you're interested. Like just a subtle call to action every single day, literally every single day. I'm not like hardcore recruiting right now, but I always have people in my inbox that I'm starting those conversations with, so that at the beginning of the month I can lock in my goals. Does that help, Kelly?
Perfect. What do you say, what would you say is your favorite form of recruiting? So we've got sneak peeks, we've got boot camps, we've got whole IG pages designated to come check this out. We got live webinars. Like what have you found to be the most bang for your buck?
I love the 1 hour happy hour, like 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, usually on like a Wednesday or Thursday night, because that's usually when people have the time for it. But basically, like I run them with my coaches that are pushing to diamond, or my coaches that are just hitting diamond to help them solidify. Because like I also am putting my people in front of them, so I'm like, hey, like you guys have to like come ready, please don't. And I'm like, if it's my sneak peek, I'm very to the point of like, hey, please don't just like throw this together after your workout when you're like wiping the sweat off your face, or like please don't do this in your car when you don't have good connection. Like please make sure you have a light on your face, you know, like put a little lipstick on, because it's like we're putting ourselves out, we're presenting our business opportunity, so I want them to feel successful. But like we all cover different topics, so every like 10 minutes on the hour we share a story and then we share the topic, right? So it's like we're kind of flowing the whole time, but then me and those girls are getting on each other's videos, and even if no one's on live, we're at least like interacting together. So then those girls that are newer to Coach Sneak Peeks, they're starting to like get pumped up about it. So it really helps boost their confidence. But also like if they have one person in there that actually they got invited to, you know, it's not just them sharing everything. And like for me personally, I love it because I'm a full-time coach. That's not what everyone wants to be, or that's not what everyone desires to be. So that I can have my coaches share their stories while they're with 3 kids at home, or they're working 8 to 5, you know. So then sometimes my prospects will be like, wow, I really related to Leslie's story. That was awesome. Like, I'm ready to sign up. I'm like, thanks, girl.
So is that in the format of like a Zoom, or is it in a page?
A Facebook group.
Facebook.
So it's a Facebook group. So it's just like live videos, like every 10 minutes. So then we just say that like these videos will be, so say it's a Wednesday night, these videos will be available till Sunday night, and that's when enrollment closes. So
Gotcha.
then like I'm doing that with my team cup group, and we just have the same group. So we delete the videos on Sunday, keep our people in there who haven't yet signed up. And then Wednesday night, again, we go through and do our stuff, reopen enrollment, so that it's kind of like people are building in there. But then like the girls get practice, because then I can say to them too, like, hey, you're covering objections. Let me know if you have any questions on that. So they're able to like kind of run by what they're thinking of saying, and then I can add if I would have added anything too.
Love it. Any other questions, you guys? I know we're on the East Coast at rolling up to 10 o'clock at night. Any other questions, feel free to unmute and ask. Otherwise, we will close it up. All right. Forever hold your peace. Jamie, thank you so much for being on tonight. You guys, thank you for showing up for yourself, for your business, for your team. It's really important that you are present for team calls, because it really does create momentum in your business. It gives you opportunities to talk about the team and the culture that you're a part of every Wednesday night. So Jamie, have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So much. All right. Good night, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.